Hi, my name is Phil Ayer. I'm running for Congress. How are you?
We are fantastic.
So here I am. I'm sitting outside or standing outside, walking around a group of people who just came out for an open mic and a poetry night here in Pensacola, Florida. I see some stars, the bright moon up there behind a little bit of clouds. Life's good. We're going to run for the people. We're going to try to get we can actually win this district, and the magic number for winning is 150,000. 150,000 votes to win is our quantitative analysis for getting it done. It takes a good, strong Democratic turnout. A lot of Democrats around here are not in the habit of voting because they're demoralized. We are demoralized. But that has changed. Mr. Gates, who I'm running against, and is so far closely aligned with Mr. Trump. Everybody's hurting. The quality of life stinks, and it's not just the economy. It's our emotions and our sense of well-being as Americans. It's been under assault. We recognize it. We're all motivated to get out and vote. So we can do it. We can do it with a strong Democratic turnout, and there's a lot of independents, and that's the largest group of new voters. More people are registering as NPAs than in either of the two parties. Most of that are Democratic thinking people, meaning people who generally would align with issues that the Democrats and solutions that the Democrats would hold dear, rather than the Republicans. The Republicans now have been sold out by thinking that someone with very poor character is suited to lead the country. At some point, you got to trust somebody to make decisions where you don't have the expertise to understand what really is the right answer for a North Korea solution, what really is the right answer for a tax cut or a healthcare solution or toxic cleanup somewhere. You got to trust the authority somewhere. And if you don't have any confidence in someone's character, then it's a bankrupt system. And those of us who've been in government for a while, I'm a career military, that means government, we understand, and so do a lot of veterans in this district, understand that character counts.
I was going to ask you to tell us a little bit about your district. I don't think some of our listeners are familiar with the area you're from. You're from the Pensacola area, is that correct?
Pensacola area, far western panhandle. That means 5 counties. Escambia, where the northern border is the state of Alabama. So Escambia County, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton, and most of Holmes County, which is up north of Walton. The district has a Cook Political Index of R+22, and it's pretty consistently gone for the Republican candidates in the elections by about, toward 80%, thereabouts, since well before John McCain ran against President Obama. So it's an uphill battle. The thing that makes it different this time around, I contend, is, again, it's not just the anti-Trump effect, but it's the anti-Gates effect. Matt Gates is an embarrassment to Republicans, not to mention embarrassment to the rest of us. He is not truthful in his portrayal of Beach Bill, and Beach Bill is our shorthand name for a piece of federal legislation that he sponsored that was going to give half of a barrier island, specifically Santa Rosa Island, to a county. It was going to change title from one county to another one, and thereby opening up that barrier island to development. At the same time, that man was pushing a development idea to cut a pass through the barrier island, which was directly opposing the U.S. Air Force's position on it, and thereby, again, endangering the small business, because when the Air Force sees local politicians say, hey, your mission is not that great, the Air Force says, we want to keep that, we don't want to pass there, we want to keep it pristine for our mission. Politician comes in and says, sorry, we want to cut a pass. Well, now you've destabilized the whole discussion about base realignment and closure. We're going into one of those sessions soon. So he's just wrong on lots of stuff. People know it, and they're ready for a change.
On your website, you have a lot of issues that you list, kind of what your positions are. Can you tell us what the issues are that really sort of drive you, why you want to run for office?
Okay, so first of all, those issues, we published very deliberately a list of long issues. Too much maybe to focus on, but you need to recognize that I've been a Republican for 30-some years, more than 30 years, and I only switched to the Democratic Party last year. My new Democratic friends are rightly saying, "Are you really a Democrat?" The answer is yes. So they said, "Prove it." I said, "Well, how am I going to prove it? It's the right thing to do right here, right now to do it." And I said, "No, that's not good enough. Prove it." Okay, how am I going to prove it? Tell us what you think about the issues. So I went through a lot of issues, and I thought about them. I reflected on them, and I put down broad just a smattering of statements. There's not detailed policy analysis there, but it is showing where the types of the way I approach issues, the values, the problems that I see, and some policy prescriptions, recommendations, proposals. So that's the reason why you had all those issues. But our race and my campaign is focused on three things. 1, quality of life. 2, national security. And 3, Congress. By quality of life, I mean all those things that the stinking Trump party is doing right now, the Trump Republicans are doing right now. That means they're focused on ideology, not practical solutions. I've been in the military a long time. We are practical people. We're not driven by ideology, especially radical ideology. We are driven by problem solving. Prioritizing people over this ideology is central. It's central in job creation. It's central in environmental stewardship, in social justice, in the prison system, in the public school systems. Public schools here are decimated. And, oh my goodness, what's happening now in the news? It's the Parkland massacre. The way that the Florida Republicans have approached the Second Amendment and the other rights in our Constitution is just way out of balance and has been for a long time. And my opponent, Matt Gaetz, has his fingerprints all over these dysfunctional Florida laws, these Florida gun laws, and he's infecting the Congress in a similar way. Just look at his sponsorship in the Florida legislature of the law that prevents local elected officials from speaking their mind about local control over weapons, and they'll get fined and potentially thrown out of office if they advocate for that kind of further restriction of Florida state law. And he's co-sponsor and proponent of bills about the open carry reciprocity that's in the U.S. Congress, a bill passed by the House. It's in the Senate right now, but they haven't taken it up. But, hey, we're going into this gun debate in the United States Senate. And Mr. Gaetz is sitting there in the House ready to put his radical ideology, his recklessness, and his callousness to the human cost of his ideology to a vote when it comes back to the House. That's quality of life. National security, I'm much more suited than he is on advocating for businesses in our district. I'm a retired Navy, so I understand the cost of veterans and what care they need. We need to make sure our so-called never-ending wars are actually overseen by Congress and reauthorized. If we can't reauthorize it, we ought to bring them down. And we need to make sure that we stand up to foreign interference in our elections. These are just principles. These are basic things that Republicans and Democrats have agreed on for decades. And Mr. Trump and those people that are empowering him, those people that are just silent, they're just complicit in the president's dereliction of duty. And then in Congress, surely we need Congress to stand up to its Article 1's responsibilities and check executive branch excess, and to make laws in the way that you and I have learned how laws are supposed to be made in junior high school or high school. That means open hearings on major pieces of legislation done with a bipartisan approach. Healthcare, for example, let's not lurch from the left all the way to the right with deals around, behind closed doors. Let's come out and take a small step together in healthcare and try to fix the Affordable Care Act incrementally. And if we can't fix it, then we put more strident proposals on the table. But we haven't gone through the open hearing process for that, or for tax reform, or goodness gracious, what are they going to do with gun violence discussions here? Yet to be seen, but doesn't look like they're going to have comprehensive hearings, which is the way it should be done. Inverse order: Congress, national security, and quality of life, with quality of life being the premier aspect of my campaign that matters most to poor people and people struggling to make ends meet here in Northwest Florida.
Is there anything else you'd like to make sure that people know about you personally?
I spent my life in the United States Navy, and a lot of people do that. people think that if they're struggling, they need to know that my family has struggled too. My father and my grandfather came through really tough times, and I've watched them grow old and hear the stories of their resilience. So if you struggled, I've struggled with you, even though my life has been relatively secure in employment with the United States Navy. If you've raised a Christian family, recognize that I've gone through that too. If you've raised a family of another faith or of no faith of all, I've shared part of your journey. And if you believe and love nature, recognize that I also do, and I understand the value of science and the danger of climate change. We've got to get back to federal research on climate change science or climate science so that we understand what the heck's going on and act responsibly. People should know that I am very much into practical solutions and sustainable solutions on everything from the economy, spending properly, minding our national debt, and that's the economic ecosystem, that's the physical ecosystem, and it's being kind to others in a way that maintains long-term relationships rather than our polarized society we have now.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit more about the Florida First.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Our theme music is called Sweeter Vermouth and was composed by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. It is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our logo was created by Matthew Weflin, expressly for Two Broads Talking Politics, and is copyright 2017. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or at twobroadstalk on Twitter.